Good evening. Thanks for joining us. A bill to legalize online sports betting in Wisconsin could go up for a vote in the state assembly within the next couple of months.
If signed into law by the governor, Wisconsin's tribes would have the exclusive right to conduct online sports betting. First Alert update, the legislation has bipartisan support, but it's not without opposition. After being pulled for a potential vote in the Assembly this past November, Speaker Robin Vos now believes there's enough support for a bill legalizing online sports betting in Wisconsin, as long as the bets go through a server on tribal land, which aligns with the state constitution.
Some are concerned about this being an option that's only available to the Native American tribes. And so I respect those, but for me, I think that the value that's going to provide in terms of revenue is substantial, and therefore it's worth doing.
Opposition to the bill is coming from groups like the Sports Betting Alliance, which represents both DraftKings and FanDuel, plus the Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty, saying in a memorandum, quote, "If Wisconsin amends state law to create a betting monopoly for Indian tribes, it will create significant risks for all gaming in Wisconsin. Not only will the law itself be susceptible to challenge in federal court as an unconstitutional racial classification, but Wisconsin's entire gaming apparatus, which also grants preferences based on race, would be challenged," end quote. Many Democrats, including the governor, say the bill has their support as long as there's support from the tribes. However, it's unclear whether the state Senate will take any action, allowing the bill to receive a vote.
The legislature in general hopes so. The governor seems to be amenable. The tribes are agreeable in wanting this to go forward. So again, the majority of the legislature thinks that this should pass. There really is no excuse for the state Senate not to put it on the docket so that we can vote on it as a caucus.
We also reached out to the Oneida Nation for comment. At this point, they are declining to make a statement.